Hey guys, so it's a little bit of a debacle going on spiritual TikTok, and I wanted to talk about the patriarchy. And there's a lot of videos I found, but I found this to be pretty interesting, especially on spiritual TikTok, about what he says here in the caption. I wanted to go over the drama that was happening between this guy and you can see at the bottom there, Keisha and Finnegan. Um, but for now, because we're still in Sagittarius season, which is ruled by Zeus, which is the father, um, let's say the god of patriarchy. So I thought this was like pretty interesting that he, in his topic in regards to spirituality and the society that we live in, I thought this was pretty interesting that he said that. So he says this is not okay. I can't read it off my screen there, and plus I'm half retarded, so half the time I don't remember stuff. So anyways, I'm gonna read it from here. This is not okay. This has to stop. Imagine a society where the law supports and validates crimes that happen in dreams and prosecutes those accused of these said astral crimes. Truly let that sit. If you support this woman, that is what your ethic foundation is rooted in, fallacy and imagination. This cannot go on. I am publicly asking this creator to take down her videos, for she is breaking the law in this dimension and can be taken to court and sued for slander and defamation of character. This girl pretty much accused him of a lot of stuff that didn't happen in real life. I agree with him that she was projecting onto him. And, as someone that is in the spiritual community, I think that, I think like a lot of the things that people don't talk about is, I don't want to say people are fake or false or whatever. I think a lot of people come into this type of thing because one, they've been triggered or they've been traumatized, and it's a way for them to try to understand themselves. And I could speak for myself. I could say, like, in regards to Keisha, like some of the things that she described, I could say, I'm obsessive compulsive myself. So I could see, like, where, some of the things that she was saying, like, is rooted in that. But I could also see, of course, like, even for me, some of my traumas, I realized that I am projecting, even though the person did these things, like in her case, it's not really real. So she's going through another whole thing. In my case, like it did actually happen where certain situations did happen to me from a person. And even still, I have to take account of that. I am still, even though that person actually did do these things, that I am still projecting those things onto that person. So I agree with most of the things that he said, but I just found it interesting, which is kind of like you know um, this whole thing about the patriarchy, and I'm not against the patriarchy. So you know I think everything should be in balance. But I find it interesting what he says. So there's certain things that the patriarchy does not accept, which is things that relates to your emotion. Like our society is very rational. That's why a lot of times people are like, oh, it's a science, it's a science, it's a science. It's not really ever based on, how we feel about things. And of course, our feelings are subjective, but at the same time, as we go along, we realize that science to some degree is also, subjective, and it's constantly changing. But with patriarchy, it's more like, our, the people that are in power subject their will on us. And I just thought it was, kind of fascinating that he says that, because then it's kind of like, kind of goes against everything that he says. It's kind of like, the law supports and validates crimes that happen in our dreams. But then those, if you're into spirituality, those things should be valid, right? If you're, into clairvoyance, those things should be valid. If you're into, forgot the name, when you could hear things, or when you could hear things, those things should be valid. because you're, in the spiritual community. But then now, of course, people make these 180s or 360s in a way, and then, say in this dimension, but in this dimension, those things are valid, and her feelings are valid, but she's just utilizing, she doesn't, I mean, even sometimes I don't know, like, I have anger issues and I don't know how to properly manage it, and I don't know what issues she personally have. I can't diagnose her. I'm not a therapist or anything like that. So clearly she can't manage whatever it is that she's going through. And I think a lot of things that Fennekin said in his video resonated, projecting, whatever her trauma onto him. But I also felt as if, like, you kind of being a hypocrite to kind of, being a spiritual community and saying that your emotions, don't are not valid, because now it's just another. So then, to me, it's like, then you're just bullshitting online. And then I think another creator said, then, if you guys are so in touch with the spirit realm, how come, you don't really understand what's going on? And I see a lot of other stuff on here that is kind of like, I think sometimes I see some people post, especially astrology or something like that, post, and it's very memey. And even with, essential oils too, it's very memey. It's very kind of emotionally grabs you, which is what a lot of, it's marketing. So, I'm not, I try to, in some ways, stay true to myself and talk about the topics I want to talk about versus trying to, really market myself where, I grab people emotionally, which of course that would help me to make more money. But I'm just trying to stay true to myself, and, hopefully people would see that and that will resonate with, that's just my take. But I thought this whole dialogue that he had here was pretty interesting and just kind of hypocritical to what he does as far as like spiritually. But anyways, make sure you guys like and follow, and I'll try to maybe do a response video or put the videos together with what she said and what he said and be a little bit of gossipy, which is not supposed to be.